Hello, welcome to Luigi's Gaming Lounge. This is Luigi 8 Mario, and today we're recording episode 43. We do have a special guest with us today, and I'll introduce them now. We have got Toni Lisa. Hi, Toni Lisa.
Hello.
Hello. Good friend of Trip Hazard, aka
Barnaby. Hello.
And good friend of Out of Time Ecto 1, aka
Andy. Hello.
And hello there, Commando Para, aka
Yo, it's your homeboy. Tony, yo, what up?
I feel like I have not heard that for a long time. It's good to have you back this week.
Too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, man's been blazing.
What are you like?
I've been in Jamaica.
What is he like? Well, as we have a special guest, Toni, on this evening, I'd like to sort of take a little bit of a dive into your gaming sort of history and just ask you some questions, really, because I know Barnaby did send some information about that. You know, you enjoy games from software and the likes, Dark Souls, etc. As I mentioned to you just prior to recording, I have never ever touched one of those style of games ever, which I'm guessing is like swearing at you, I think, at the moment.
Almost as bad.
Have you had a chance to pick up Elden Ring yet, or is that one that you're...
I have. I got it the day after release, which is a little bit behind for me, but because normally I'm there at midnight on release day, but...
Hardcore.
I've been playing it since the day after release, so last Saturday. I'm absolutely smitten with it, if I'm honest.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a brilliant game. It's beautiful to look at. It's so in-depth. There's so much to it. The map is massive.
Yeah.
And there's a load of new things that they've brought in that haven't been in From Software games before, like a crafting system.
Oh, wow.
New player UI. And it's to try and describe Elden Ring to you in one podcast. It would take up the entire podcast. It's just such a fantastic game.
Yeah.
And I've only played I'm only 30 hours in, roughly.
Only 30 hours.
That's pretty good going.
More hours than I put in across a year.
That is pretty good going. I mean, Elden Ring is, I'd say, the only game of this type that I've been very curious about. When looking,
I think it really has to hit the mainstream as well, because I was talking to one of my workmates. He's never played a FromSoft game before either, and he was thinking about getting it as well. So I think it's really hitting the mainstream now, whereas before it had a dedicated and wide following, but it was always a little bit on the hardcore side.
Yeah.
If you've seen
Don't be
it's
fooled.
still very much like Marmite. Like, people have been getting digital refunds because it is just, again...
I was going to say the reviews online do seem to be Marmite. People either love it or hate it, but I think
you either like that challenge or you don't. And if you don't, you'll hate it. If you do, it's going to be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
The bad reviews tend to be more around. So I know because my partner plays it on PC and I play it on PlayStation 5. But PC, it's not at all properly optimized.
Right.
And it freezes.
The
during
requirements
boss
are really
fight.
high, aren't they, on PC?
Yeah, I've got 2 high-end gaming PCs and neither would play it, which is why I ended up getting it on PlayStation 5. So, I mean, but my opinion on that is give From Software time. The game's only just come out.
Yeah.
It's been being updated all week. It's going to take time. I mean, they wanted to get the game out. So, for me, PC players have just got to hold their horses a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like I want Sam here so we can stick that up your pipe and smoke at your PC Master Race. Console for the win, bitches!
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, as I said, it is the first one that myself I've been interested in, because I think I've never really touched them before, as being sort of a father and just family life in general, tend to get so much time to game, and I do know they're a bit of a time sucker and you have to really put the hours in, but I do enjoy a good challenge, like for example, I know it's going to be nowhere near the difficulty, but with
You're going to say that before, don't be fooled, because it's just as hard, if not harder, than the Dark Souls games.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, for example, games like Halo, I do a bit like Andy. I like to play it on Legacy, the hardest difficulty. Whereas some games,
that's still nothing compared to the Dark Souls games.
That's
from
what
I understand.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. So I do like a challenge, but I'm just a bit worried that this is going to be a bit too much to chew.
From what I understand from Barney, and I sort of value Barney's opinion, and I know Barney does like a challenge like we do.
You said
Barney won't touch it with a barge pole because it goes past the point of a challenge into just pure sheer frustration. You want to put your foot through your TV screen, sort of thing. So
it's more the repetition, I think. So
it's the argument of.
Yeah, some games can hack doing the same thing over again and trying little variations on the same thing to try and defeat an opponent. But I don't have the hours, unfortunately, and the patience to put in anymore. If I was younger, like when I was a teenager and I was like really hardcore into the video games and I could play them all day.
What are you saying, Barnaby, that I do have the hours?
But yeah, apparently.
He's saying you're younger and more useful, and he's an old
exactly.
bogan.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
that much younger. I have to feel my bloody age now.
Well, the games that obviously you enjoy now are totally different to what you used to enjoy when you was younger. What sort of happened there with the switch over from the games of the past for you?
I grew up.
You grew up.
Yeah, that Luigi. She grew up. She doesn't play Bubsy and Bad Boys.
Yeah.
Anybody can kick a bag of wind around a pitch for 90 minutes and call that interesting, but it's not really, is it? And anybody can drive fancy sports cars and stuff like that and call that interesting, but that's not either, really, is it?
So, obviously, I'm guessing you really enjoy the sense of achievement that, when you, I don't know, beat a boss on these games or something. It's something that really sort of makes you happy, or makes, I don't know, what sort of is that what it is? Is that?
I think the biggest sense of achievement, and I'm going to be going for this with other From Software games, since my biggest sense of achievement was when I platinumed Dark Souls 3.
Wow.
Because
That's pretty impressive.
that is hard. The hours you have to put into it to do that.
How old were you when you started that journey, and how old were you when you finished?
Well, no, if I'm being honest, it took me about 2 years to platinum Dark Souls 3, but that's because I don't play it 24/7 because I have a job and I have cats to look after, and I have a partner, and so I just don't get time to game as much as I would like. But
did you play it from day one?
I did, but as you may know, Barnaby, I have switched between consoles so initially I started with an Xbox One, and then all my friends got PlayStation, and I didn't have anybody to play with, and I was lonely.
Oh.
So I got a PlayStation. But I still do own the From Software games, with the exception of Elden Ring, which I only own on PlayStation 5.
Right.
I own, and Demon Souls actually, because it's an exclusive. I own every From Software game on every platform it's available on.
What did you think to Bloodborne?
So we'll get into that later because it's a topic we're going to talk about later. But it was
cool, yep.
sort of a candidate for one of my games to trash because, and that's personal opinion really, because whilst I like Bloodborne, I can't get into the Lovecraft stuff. And I think you really have to get into that to enjoy Bloodborne to its fullest. For me...
It's got that kind of gothic horror setting, different to the sort of dark medieval setting of Dark Souls.
Yeah, I mean, for me, they're not just hack and slash, beat this boss, beat that boss, whatever. For me, I like the story of the From Software games. And I just couldn't get into it with Bloodborne.
Yeah, fair enough. One thing that I've been hearing online and when I've been listening to other podcasts is that obviously we all know Elden Ring is extremely hard. However, they've got the option that you can actually play co-op, and supposedly playing co-op, it makes it that bit easier to play through. I mean, have you had any co-op experience on it, or has it just been strictly single player at the moment?
Have, but I was a little bit disappointed in myself after doing that, because I really wanted to try and do the game solo on my initial run.
Right. Okay.
But they stuck a really hard boss that I attempted sort of 50 odd times and died to 50 odd times.
Yeah.
Before
Only
I gave
50.
up and went, I need co-op.
Okay.
Wow.
Is that the first time they've added co-op to one of their games, or?
No. All of the games are co-op, or all of the Souls series are co-op.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that.
They also have, so you have I don't know what they're called in Elden Ring because I'm still getting used to it, but in the Dark Souls games you have summons, who are people you can summon to help you, other players you can summon to help you, or you have invaders who are there to kill you.
Right,
and that exists throughout the series.
And it's quite interesting how you can have both summons and invaders in the same game
At the
world.
same time, yeah.
So you could have people trying to help you out and people trying to kill you. And you can sneakily, in some of the games at least, you can sneakily pretend to be a summon while you're actually an invader.
Oh,
And actually,
I believe.
interestingly, going off Barnaby's point, you can have summons and invaders at the same time, and this is why I prefer to play it on console, I think, because a lot of PC players have resorted to hacking because they tend to end up being outnumbered
right.
when they invade, because you can only have one invader, but you could have 3 summons. So effectively it'd be 4 against 1.
And these are live players, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. That sounds
There
actually
are
really
also-
interesting.
It is actually a really interesting feature. It makes co-op very quirky in that it's not just like a standard kind of let's meet up in the lobby and go on a co-op adventure together. It's more that you're out there in the single player game and you can either invite players to your game session or invade other players' game sessions. So it's a little bit more dynamic and quirky. So that is an interesting feature. It does make it a bit awkward when you just want a straight up co-op experience because you can't really have that.
Yeah.
But it does make it quirky and interesting. Yeah, go on, Tony.
When joining these raids, is this like a request or an invite that's sent? Yeah, well, sent out, or is it purely looking on a? Again, I've never played the game, so is it something like an open sort of platform where you can select where you wish to go and then join in, or does it have to be an invite that's sent out?
I mean, there's several different ways of doing it. So there's obviously in the network settings, there's matchmaking settings and stuff like that. You can choose the region. You can't choose what level you can matchmake with. However, there are level caps on who you can pair up with, except for if you add a password for your network session, and at that point you can basically summon anybody of any level. But if they are quite a few levels higher than you, then they will get downscaled to match your.
That does sound really interesting. Like I said, I think for myself, the only time I may possibly give it a go is if I know I've got somebody to do co-op with, because even though I absolutely love computer games, I don't think I'd quite have the skill set to tackle one of these games on my own. As much as I think I'm good at games, I think I'd need a player 2 with me.
As well,
Luigi. I think you forgot to mention as well. It has to be during the day.
Why is that? Mm-hmm. Oh, what?
Well, you tend to get
because I get scared.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a wuss. But
I mean, Tony, would you say that there are any strong horror elements, or is it mostly more fantasy in Elden Ring?
You know what? one of my friends actually happens to be Barnaby's brother. But one of my friends described it as a cross between Horizons and Dark Souls. So it's like
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, it's like Horizons Dark Souls edition. So I would say from that, it's bordering more on fantasy.
Right.
For Elden Ring. But there are elements in the other games that would lean more towards horror.
Right.
But I think they're just in a genre of their own, and you can't really...
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way to sort of...
Yeah, I think, like you said, they are their own genre, really, aren't they? Those type of games. Real soul crushing for some people, I think.
There is actually a genre called Souls-like.
Oh, okay.
Now,
yeah, it was so popular. It kind of came out of the blue, didn't it, Tony? Before Dark Souls, there wasn't really anything, or even Demon Souls, there wasn't really anything like it. So after
get the order right, Barnaby.
Yeah, exactly. After that success, there were a lot of imitators.
Right.
Yeah, like Sekiro and Shadow of Mordor.
Sekiro's from Software as well, is it?
It is, but it's not part of the Dark Souls series. It's more in the genre Souls-like.
Ah, okay.
The Dark Souls series consists of Demon Souls being the original, followed by Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and now Elden Ring.
Right.
Even Bloodborne's not classed as an official title in the series.
Oh.
I think the reason why Demon Souls changed to Dark Souls is because Sony actually owns the rights to Demon Souls. So for the multi-platform release of Dark Souls, they had to change the name.
Nice.
Yeah,
bit
whereas
of
Demon
knowledge.
Souls is PlayStation only.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely bit of knowledge. Yeah, I think we've got a real good feel for what you're into gaming wise and so on. I mean, do any of you guys have anything else you'd like to ask Tony before we sort of go on to other subjects? Or
Yeah, I think one of the main things is I know that Tony in the past did a little bit of game development in Unity, and I know that's something you've dabbled with in the past, Luigi, as well.
Still doing, actually, when I get time. But
are you able to sort of tell us what sort of things it is that you're, sort of dabbling with?
I have 2 complete games. One Google currently have for testing, so that it can go on the Play Store.
Oh, wow.
And then one that I'm not going to bother releasing, I don't think, and then one that's going to be a long time before it's finished. At the rate I can do work on it at the moment, probably at least 6 months.
Right.
For completion for that one, because it's a huge... When I first started it, it was supposed to be a Zelda-like RPG.
Okay.
But as I've added ideas to it, it's kind of deviating off that now.
Right, okay. And, who was that?
Yeah, sorry. Just, I missed that, Tony. I do apologise. I cut off there. In regards to the Google Play Store, what was the name of the game? The reason why I ask is my friend Luke, he's a big gamer. He won a contract with Google and a development company to do a soundtrack. He deals with audio branding.
So it's called Haunted House.
Haunted House. Right, I'll have to check that with him.
But it's not actually on the Play Store yet. It's Google have got it for testing.
Yeah, because they approached him a couple of months ago for some samples for soundtracks for the games, and obviously he was paid quite handsomely for that. But
Luke Tyler.
Yeah, Luke Tyler. Yeah, he deals with audio branding, don't he? He's very skilled when dealing with little jingles and other little bits that he does as well. And he set up this business where he's always dealt with sort of the music, the Ableton sort of music processor, and sort of generates these little jingles. But he was approached by Google for a game, that's currently under testing trials at the moment. So I'll have to find out what it's called. I don't know if they're going to be using any of his samples that they've paid him for in that game. I don't know, or what game it's called. So that'll be quite cool. But no, thank you for sharing.
I originally planned for Halloween last year for the release,
Okay.
I decided I wanted a couple of friends to play it first. So Barnaby was one of them, actually.
Cool.
Just to get an idea as to what people thought it might be missing, and Barnaby suggested a couple of things that it could have done with. So I went back and revised it, added those things to it, and now Google have got it again. So
It's
amazing.
Is that something that you've sort of self-taught yourself to do, or?
Yeah, so when I first started using Unity, there was them actually not available now, and I find it a little bit disappointing that Unity have got rid of them. But there used to be game development tutorials on there,
Yeah.
and I learnt to code in C#, and I learnt to develop games that way.
Yeah.
And I've just gone from there. Basically, I taught myself how to use Blender.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I use for my 3D models. I would much rather use something like Maya or Autodesk, but I haven't got $8,000. So,
Yeah. Well, I've dabbled with the Unreal Engine. Obviously, it's free to sort of download and use, and I really like the fact that as well. Every month they give you about 4 items that you can use for free. Whether it's characters, this, that, the other. There's just so much content. Obviously, you can purchase no end of content as well. I've taken a back seat with that, but I would love to get back into it. Have you tested out the Unreal Engine at all, or?
a little bit, but I didn't really like it.
No. What was it?
I think it's just more designed for for me, it's more designed for movie production and if you want to make a really nice cutscene,
Yeah.
go to Unreal. But it's just not there in terms of games development for me. It hasn't got half the features that Unity's got.
Right. Well, with Unity, I mean, when I looked at the time, I think that there is quite a hefty fee to use their engine. Is that right?
No, it's free.
Oh, wow, that's new information for me. When I looked, I'm sure it looked like there was.
What kind of time frame are we looking at? Because obviously they might change as and when the sort of market develops.
I still use it now, and it's free.
I mean, I looked. It must have been getting on for a year and a half ago, maybe something like that. I'll have to take a re-look at that then, and yeah.
What you might have been looking at, Luigi, is some assets are paid for.
Right.
Unity has its own asset store where if you're not very good at modelling and stuff like that, you can go on the asset store and buy models. Although you've got to be careful doing that because there's a thing called asset flipping.
Right.
Where if you use somebody else's assets in your game and it gets noticed, it's sort of seen as ripping that person off, as it were.
Okay.
It's just a cheap cash in, so rather than use any creativity, just buy all the assets, throw them quickly together in a game, and then sell it cheap on Steam or whatever.
Right, I see. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to check that out some point soon then, because again, it is something I've always been really interested. I've always been really interested.
It's a really interesting subject, I think, in general. It's something that I've been looking into, but not really done anything about properly.
Yeah. No, I mean, as gamers, we all have our own sort of ideas of what we'd like to see and stuff, and I think it's something that it'd be a good skill to have, even if it was literally just to create for yourself and people around you. Obviously, if you can, get to the point where you can make money from it, fantastic. But yeah, I'll definitely be looking into that.
Originally, when I first started doing it, I would have said then that I probably wanted a career in games development, but now, just the job I've been in for the last sort of 4 years or so, I think I'm happy where I am and the direction that my career's going in, and I'd rather go more that way. So I don't want to do games development as a career and ruin the fun.
Yeah, I suppose it's nicer as a hobby when you feel like pressured to do it like 40 hours a week or more.
Yeah,
I suppose it'd take the fun away, wouldn't it?
Just think of gynecologists.
Trust you, Andy.
They never get bored.
It's funny you say that, Tony, because I used to date a girl from Sweden in Malmo. Used to go see her every other week, and she dealt with she was Java credited. She was looking at going down the gaming development.
I thought you were going to say she was a gynecologist at first.
She went down the route and she wanted to become a gaming developer. Hence why she went to uni. And she changed her mind through that process of when she was going to uni, and opened her eyes when she was dealing with Java and all the other stuff. And she thought it was quite she lost interest in it because she didn't want to be taking work home with her when she wanted to sit down and play like Borderlands, like Gears of War, any of the old Nintendo stuff. She had like Nintendo tattoos and Gears of War cog tattooed on her sternum and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, really cool gamer, really punky. Like, her name's Isabel, really cool. And she actually went down the route of doing sort of generating apps and other software, and she would use like a binary code system. Again, I'm completely novice when it comes to this, but I remember when she did a binary code, and she managed to use certain texts or letters and managed to sort of cryptate where it was called Toni Lisa. But she used to develop these sort of apps and other programs, but she enjoyed that a lot more than the avenue that she wanted to go down, because she didn't want to be seen as like taking work home with her.
I think that is unfortunately too common in game development. There's the crunch cycle where you get towards the end of game development and there's lots of pressure to do more and more hours.
Yeah.
And even I've stopped developing games as much now, though. And I think that partly is because if I was to invest as many hours into it now as I used to, I would just spend my entire life in front of a computer, really, which isn't a bad thing in some respects, but because I work in IT as well, I just would never get away from a computer.
Yeah, no, you do need that break. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's good that we've had that chat actually, because I'm really interested in taking a look at Unity. So, as I said, we'll be definitely doing that. So,
just
guys,
to give you a little bit more on that, Luigi, Blender works well with Unity, as does Visual Studio.
Right.
The coding side of things. So for me, because it partners with those two applications really well, Unity's the better game engine.
Right.
Yeah, I do see a lot of indie titles, especially that have been developed in Unity. So it's definitely up there for published games.
Yeah, I'll definitely be taking a look at that, 100%. Guys, is there any other questions that you've got for Toni at all? Before we speak on other subjects, going once, going twice. No.
I've got a question.
Oh yeah.
So, what do you think of the PS5, Tony? I mean, I'm interested in the haptic feedback on the controller, especially because we've had a little bit of feedback from last week from Affy Benz. So I just want to get your opinion on what you think of the PS5 as we're non-PS5. Luigi, you've got a PS5, haven't you?
Me? No, I've not.
Your
got...
PS4.
Yeah, PS4, then obviously
But yeah,
Xbox Series XS and etc.
yeah, Tony Lisa, what's your opinion of the PS5?
Think I would still have it over an Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
But this actually goes back to one of your previous podcasts, I think, where you guys were talking about how last generation Sony had the edge,
Mm-hmm.
but this
Definitely.
generation Microsoft have got the edge. And I do think there's areas for improvement with the PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as fluid as it could be. It feels like they kind of rushed it a little bit. And in some respects, it doesn't feel overly different to the PlayStation 4, which I think, if you're a hardcore gamer, not saying that I am, but if you're a hardcore gamer, I think people would have just been expecting a bit more of a difference. However, going on the controller, I was expecting the microphone and speaker to be really rubbish. It wasn't. It was actually really good. And to have that out of a controller, that is an improvement, because the microphone and speaker on the PlayStation 4 controller was rubbish.
It was weak, yeah, it was weak. It was a nice feature, but it was a little bit gimmicky, and the quality wasn't there.
But I find if I'm in a chat and my headset dies, I can just switch to my controller and it's fine. They can still hear me fine. It doesn't make any difference.
I did notice that when my nephew bought his PlayStation 5 round, I wasn't aware that it actually had that sort of capability. I did think that was actually quite a cool feature to have. But from his experience, because I did ask him about it, he was saying that the quality's not very good over the, when it's being used. But I don't know if that's something maybe that's sort of gone wrong, his end or a friend's end. But I mean, is the audio fairly decent? Do you know, or?
I think so. I've had friends say that it isn't, but then they've been in a noisy environment at the time.
Right. Yeah.
But they wouldn't consider it a noisy environment, because it's funny how you can get lost in your own environment sometimes, isn't it? But
yeah.
If you've got a lot of background noise, then you tend to get a fair bit of feedback.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
But I don't have a lot of background noise, unless Cosmo's in the house.
Yeah, we've yet to hear Cosmo, so
He's being good for the podcast so far.
He's decided he's just not talking to me tonight because I keep threatening to book him into the vets.
Oh dear. Yeah, they don't like that. So yeah, no, really appreciate obviously you allowing us to sort of grill you on your sort of gaming antics.
I think it's nice though, because you've got like a different perspective, because like Tony is really into the Dark Souls series, whereas it's something that's a bit more unknown for us.
Yeah, no,
it does make it sound like it's the only games I'm into, which it isn't. But
yeah. No, it is good because, like I said, if none of us are sort of playing those sort of games and so on, I mean, in the future, Tony, you're always welcome to come on the podcast again should you want to discuss any sort of future games that come out, that you're interested.
Could be our From Software expert.
Yeah, that's it. Souls, style games. Because
I'd be quite happy to join when I've got time. To be fair, the only restraint for me is work, because I have a late shift at work where I'm at work from 11:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. So
yeah,
on those times it might be a bit more of a challenge. But
yeah, no worries. But no, I appreciate you allowing us to pick your brains on all of that. We'll switch gears a little bit, and we're going to just briefly discuss Stalker 2. Now, as you guys know, it's been delayed towards the end of the year. Now, I'm assuming Stalker 2 will get delayed again due to the horrible things that are going on at the moment with basically Russia declaring war in Ukraine. I'm not going to delve into that too much, but the developers did release this. I'm going to read this now. It's from their Twitter page, Stalker Official, and the statement reads, as of today, this was February 24th, as of today, the Russian Federation has officially declared war on Ukraine. Our country woke up with the sounds of explosions and weapons fire, but is ready to defend its freedom and independence, for it to remain strong and ready for anything. The future is unknown, but we hope for the best, are ever sure of our armed forces and our belief in Ukraine. We thus address all of our colleagues in the gaming industry, players, bloggers, or anyone who sees this post in their newsfeed. Share this. Do not stand aside and help those. Do not stand aside and help those in need. And then they've put some sort of information in regards to sort of donating to the armed forces of Ukraine. And they say, through pain, death, war, fear, and inhumane cruelty, Ukraine will persevere as it always does. GSC Game World. So yeah, I mean, as I said, obviously they've had to push that to the side because they're actually based in Kiev, or I don't know how to pronounce that city very well. Kyiv.
It's a Kyiv, I think it is. Yeah.
Kyiv.
Yeah.
Kyiv if you're Ukraine, Kiev if you're Russia. But Kyiv.
So yeah, obviously, that's going to be extremely difficult, and it's probably the last thing on their mind right now for them to sort of be carrying on developing, the game. As far as I know, it's they're very far along with it, but
because originally it was slated for an April 22 release, wasn't it?
It was, and then I think it got pushed back. I want to say, was it November, December?
Couldn't say exactly.
Yeah, it was towards the end of the year. So to me, I mean, it seems inevitable that there's going to be another delay, which would take it into 2023. And obviously, I assume everybody, will be totally understanding of that, because again, put yourself in their position. It's going to be the last thing that they're worrying about at this moment in time.
Definitely.
It is a game that I'm definitely wanting to play when it does come out. I did dabble with the original games on PC, and I did enjoy them when I played them. Is this a game that any of you guys are interested in? I mean, it's coming to Game Pass, so you've got nothing to lose in terms of your money. So, I mean, are any of you looking to give this a go when it does come out?
No, I'll be too scared, mate.
How are you going to be scared? How are you going to be scared?
It's just those games again. I've been in, a war situation.
No, but that's not.
No. There's different types of scared. Wait a minute. Let me finish.
Go on.
Being scared, but when it's a game, because you've not got full sort of vision, peripherals, it's something will jump out at you. It's like Dying Light 2. I really want to play that, but I can't muster the courage to actually purchase and then play. So, yeah, for me, I don't have the sort of courage and the stomach to play games like that. But I'd happily watch someone else play in daylight.
Just don't watch Luigi, because he'll be just as scared.
Hey, look, my level of scariness for games is like State of Decay. That is my level of scariness. I do not go past that. Resident Evil, as much as I'd love to play, and I'm so tempted to play through 7, because it does really we've lost Tony as in Commando Power. Oh no, he's back. We lost you for a moment there, Commando Power. But yeah, as I was saying, Resident Evil 7, I would love, in a sense, to play through. And I feel like maybe if I stream it, and I know there's a couple of people who definitely will sort of help me through it on stream.
You need some moral support.
yeah, because I'm just a big scared.
A little bit of virtual hand holding.
Yeah, I'm a big scared teddy bear. You see,
right.
That's the problem.
I wouldn't play it in the dark either.
I'll be playing it.
Fun.
I'll be playing it with in the daytime.
You love the adrenaline,
open.
I
Andy.
do. It makes you feel alive.
So sort of going back to Stalker 2. I mean, Andy, are you looking to? I know we've got such a big list of games that we're probably never going to finish. Is Stalker 2 on your sort of to play list when it does come out?
Yes, it is. It is on my radar. It was. I think I don't know whether it was on the podcast or off the podcast. But I remember us touching on it way back when, prior to launch of the Xbox. So this has always been sort of on the radar. It's always been. You never really had a guide at the beginning, but you knew it was going to be coming out, and like I think as Barney rightly said, it was originally going to be April time, then it got moved back. So it has always been on my radar. Is it infuriating me with the delays? No, not at all. Especially considering the latest reasons, but there's so many games are being spoiled anyway. Yeah. But I do enjoy survival games. I love horror games. I love that adrenaline. I'll play it with the lights off. The more scared you get, the more immersive it is, the better the experience is. To me, if I can get the emotions as close to what it'd be in real life, that's a better journey for me, and that's a better gaming experience. So I'm sort of the opposite of you guys. I like to throw myself full into that, the immersion of that game. And if my heart genuinely does sort of start racing and I start sweating, then I know that's a good game, and I'm actually soaking myself into the environment. Yeah. But I enjoy survival games anyway. I've never played the first Stalker. It's one of those games that it sort of passed me by again.
Because this is probably after you stopped being a PC gamer, wasn't it?
Indeed, yes. So I was aware of it, but passed me by. Will I ever play it? No. But this one's obviously, I think it's Xbox PC exclusive.
Yeah, it will be coming to Games Pass, apparently.
Yeah, I think I will sort of certainly give this a dabble. Also, I don't know too much about it, in all honesty, and I'm not going to do digging either, because I quite enjoy sometimes, a lot of games do get so much publicity and promo, it loses the magic. So sometimes I do like to let games fly under the radar a little bit for me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's right. Then, some trailers will give away too many plot points, I think, so it's nice to come to a game or a film or whatever with a fresh set of eyes, so you can always experience it as it's meant to be experienced with no spoilers.
Yeah, definitely. And because I haven't played the original game either, it's going to be a whole new journey for me. It's like I haven't got expectations built up or anything. So yeah, it is certainly one I'd be happy to pick up and play, and time will tell whether I enjoy it. But it's certainly my type of game, and I don't mind the horror.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Question then, Andy. If a game like that was to be made into a VR game, because you immerse yourself in that sort of thing, would you, or wouldn't you?
Yeah, I played through I haven't completed it, but I was playing through Resident Evil 7 in VR.
Cool.
So it was and I played through some of it, and it was on the PlayStation 4, and setting the VR was a pain in the fucking ass, which is why I didn't do it often enough. It's not that much of a pain, but it's just an inconvenience.
It's a faff, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was thinking
it playing something like that in VR. So,
I was thinking do I just play it normal, without the VR? And I was like, well, no, because I'm not getting the full experience. But I loved it in VR. You do genuinely feel like you're there. You are, looking over your shoulders. You're hearing creaking of floorboards. You turn around and something's right in your face. I love it. Yeah, you don't get the opportunity to come face to face with psychopaths day to day, so why not do it in VR?
Are you sure about that?
But I do have a distinct ability to continuously tell myself it isn't real. So I don't have to remind myself, but my mind does disconnect. So I can appreciate how, if you can't disconnect the reality and things, you would sort of fall into quite a scary pit because it is fully immersive. And then, yeah, I can see why that would shit a lot of people up. But luckily, I can always sort of remind myself, this shit ain't real. It's the same with
I have that ability, unfortunately.
but I don't like to. Like, I don't do that. But sometimes, I'm only human. It does get to a bit like, oh shit, and hell, this is actually getting a bit tasty. And then it's like, but it ain't real. So you remind yourself.
I was about to say on that though, you know me quite well, and obviously Barney knows me quite well. But to look at me, I look like I'm like quite a hardcore tough person. I'm covered in tattoos, and I'm quite well built for a woman, but I'm actually just a big softie, so games like that make me shit myself, to be honest.
It's nice to know I'm not alone there.
So you're built like Eddie Hall or whatever,
isn't me.
Yeah, that's it. I'm built like nothing, but I don't give a shit.
Yeah, size means nothing when it comes to fearing things. Okay, I'm just on the Stalker 2 website because for anybody listening who isn't aware, I just wanted to sort of give you an idea what the game's about. But just prior to doing that, obviously I know I've already read out their statement on Twitter, but they have got another statement on their website sort of echoing and what they said on Twitter, but it is slightly different. So I'm just gonna, out of respect, I'm gonna read that out whilst we're on there, because it is at the very top of their website. So it says, the people of Ukraine continue to defend their independence against the armed forces of Russian Federation. They started to bomb our cities without warning. Their soldiers intruded from north, east and south. None of Ukraine's citizens wanted war. Few were ready for it, but we will stand for our freedom to the last. We are eternally grateful to our fans, friends and colleagues who've already joined the common cause of stopping Russian aggression. We are happy to be a part of such a united community, but yet the war is not over and the enemy is not stopping. Right now, our families and friends are either trying to find shelter from bombings or are actively assisting those who has already suffered from the occupants. We need all the help we can get. And then on their site, if you do go on their site, they've got again information for sending funds to the Ukraine armed forces. You can even send cryptocurrency. There's information about the International Red Cross, International Charitable Foundation, and and it just finishes off again how the Twitter one did. Through pain, death, war, fear and inhumane cruelty, Ukraine will persevere as it always does. So, I'm going to read out the sort of information about the game. So it says here, so Stalker 2, it's called the Heart of Chernobyl. So here we've got, it says, the Heart of Chernobyl has never been beaten so loud as it is right now. The zone is calling for stalkers who are ready to delve into the non-linear journey through a sinister open world in the Eastern European post-apocalyptic setting. Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl applies the full potential of Unreal Engine 5 as well as motion capture and photogrammetry technologies to provide you with benchmark setting graphics and ultimate immersion into the game world. The advanced artificial intelligence system will compel the Stalker to utilise a tactical approach against numerous enemies, challenging and keeping even the most hard-boiled players engaged. A Life 2.0 life simulating system builds a holistic live environment where players' actions have an impact on the world of the zone. Dangerous mutants and deadly anomalies will not be the only obstacles on your journey. You will feel all the griefs of a new Stalker life while searching and consuming rare and valuable supplies, food, drinks, meds, alcohol, etc. Immersive survival mechanics will be enriching the game on the path through the branched storyline. So that gives you an idea of what's to come. It will be getting a multiplayer mode, but it does state it will be coming soon after the release date as a free update for the game. That seems to be quite a common occurrence at the moment. I mean, for example, with Halo Infinite, we haven't got multiplayer in campaign, co-op, should I say, in the campaign at the moment. But no,
that's probably down to release date pressures. I mean, with the commercial pressure to release as soon as possible, they probably want to get at least part of the game out and then
get it into
still have time.
hands.
Exactly, still have time to work on the other part. Whether they release single player or multiplayer first, work on the other part later, and then release it. That's a free download.
Yeah.
I think
definitely.
if you go at it from a game developer angle, it's kind of a case of the consoles and the PCs that are out there now compared to what's been out there in the last sort of decade or so. There's so much more expectation hanging over new games, and I think developers just go at it with trying to get the best game possible out there initially, and then add in the not so desired features like multiplayer in some respects to it later.
Exactly. Yeah, I think with a game like Stalker, it's going to be single player focused, and the multiplayer is just going to be like a nice additional extra. But yeah, you're right. I think every year the stakes get higher and higher because you want bigger budgets, better graphics, more features. So yeah, developers are going to consistently struggle, I think, to keep up with demand.
The game itself, obviously, post-apocalyptic, so on. Everybody knows the Fallout franchise. Here, it does state official mod support, granting the crafty stalkers freedom to expand and enrich the game universe. That excites me because I do know Fallout, the sort of franchise, it has a very big sort of mod community. So it'd be interesting to see what people come up with, what ideas they come up with, and with it obviously being official support. So I'm quite excited for that as well already.
I think Toni Lisa, you're a big Fallout fan, aren't you? Fallout New Vegas in particular.
Yeah, Fallout New Vegas was my favourite, but I didn't like 76 at all.
That seems quite a common occurrence with people, I think.
Yeah, you and the rest of the internet.
Yeah.
I also really like Fallout Shelter.
The free strategy game.
I was going to say, Is that on? That's on like mobile, isn't it? Is that right or not?
It's on PC. It's on mobile.
Oh, okay.
I think it's on some consoles as well.
Okay.
But I think it was designed more for mobile. Than it was anything else. I was really actually quite disappointed when Bethesda were bought by Microsoft because of the Fallout games. Because if there's a series that Bethesda were known for, it was the Fallout games.
Yeah.
So I was quite disappointed when they were bought out by Microsoft. But
so does that mean you're going to have to play them on PC, or are you going to invest in an Xbox?
I'm not rich. So unless I win the lottery anytime soon, or get rid of my PlayStation 4, then I won't be investing in an Xbox.
Get rid of your PlayStation 4 and you can get the Series S. I
mean, I probably wouldn't get enough money for it to just trade it.
No, not straight up, but yeah. Right.
I don't know, because because I do miss having an Xbox.
Yeah.
So it's actually been a thing for a while. Do I trade in my PlayStation 4 and get an Xbox?
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. I mean, the Series S is a nice little console. If you're not too bothered about 4K or having a disc drive, then that's the one that I'd go for.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be honest. The only reason I kept the PlayStation 4 in the first place, now that I've got the PS5, was so I could have a Blu-ray player in the bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the...
So it would be a disc version I'd go for. But
right, yes.
Yeah, then you're looking at nearly double the price.
what they are price-wise, actually, because I never even considered looking at the Xbox.
The fully fledged sort of big boy is 450, but then the Series S, which is obviously digital, no disc drive, is 250.
To be honest, I probably wouldn't trade it in anyway, because anybody that knows anything about games consoles knows you can get more from private.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Selling them
I'd
private.
probably sell it private and then...
Yeah, 100%.
The extra money towards getting an Xbox. It's been... Because, I mean... I like some of the games that you guys play as well, and Stalker 2, just if I can offer my opinion for a minute. It's one that I'm very much keeping a close eye on, because I enjoyed the Dying Light games.
Yes.
And I enjoy survival games. So I think I could probably get quite into it.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We shall see. So we'll just speak briefly on the Steam Deck, because there's been a lot of reviews come out, some bad, some good. Now, one sort of common thing I'm hearing is supposedly the fan makes quite a loud sort of whirring noise as such, which, you know, some people seem to be having an issue with, which is totally understandable. But a lot of it seems to also be people complaining about the operating system, Steam OS. But I mean, in my opinion, if it's more so a software sort of issue that people are sort of complaining about, I think, again, with the sort of day and age that we live in, that's something that can be rectified with, you know, system updates and so on, because obviously they're having to I've lost my train of thought. They're having to you know, optimize it to run on that system, so to speak. And I think other than that, I've not really heard any bad. Literally, they're sort of the only two main bad things that I'm hearing. Again, the operating system is something that I don't see as a massive issue, because you know it's going to get sorted with updates. I think, admittedly, if the fan is quite loud and it does make a whirring noise, I think that could be a real pain in the backside for me. I mean, I know from playing the PlayStation 4, I mean, it sounds like a jet engine when you're playing a graphically intensive game. That really does my head in. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I like my system to be as quiet as it can.
Do you have one of the original style PS4s, or...?
I have a Slim.
Because I always found the Slim was a lot quieter.
Quite possibly, because as technology advances, they can probably get more power out of a slimmer, smaller unit. So obviously the cooling potentially is going to be more effective.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when I first sort of purchased it, it was extremely quiet. I've obviously done the whole thing of sort of cleaning it out and whatnot, get rid of any dust. But yeah, like I said, I think if I'm playing a graphically intensive game, that's when it sort of sets into like jet engine mode and sounds like it's going to take off into the atmosphere. So, but yeah, as I said, I think the Steam Deck is something that, I mean, again, it is a lot of money, but it's not at the same time, because you can use it as a fully fledged PC. You know, you can hook it up to a monitor, keyboard, mouse, etc. And at the price,
from what I understand, exactly, for the price that you pay, the specs are actually really good.
Yeah, I mean, if you if you tried to get a similar sort of standalone desktop computer for, around that same price, you're going to struggle, basically.
You are now, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, like I said, I only wanted to briefly touch on the Steam Deck because, like I said, I've been seeing those comments or things online. But again, there are really good. Tech Radar, for example. I mean, I always use techradar.com. They've given it a 4.5 out of 5, so it seems to have quite good praise on there.
I think it depends on what kind of your gaming profile is, really, because if you're big into handheld gaming and the existing handheld systems, well, although there is only really one competitor at the moment, which is Switch. And if you're not into Switch, then the Steam Deck is probably going to be pretty much the only choice going. But it does depend on what kind of game.
Though,
mm-hmm.
if because for people like me who enjoy sort of the From Software games and stuff like that aren't available on the Switch. I'm wondering if people might see it as a similar type of thing and be put off by that.
We'll see it as too similar to the Switch, you mean?
Yeah, too much of a handheld.
Okay. Yeah. I suppose there is that preconception, isn't it, which Steam have got to fight against.
I mean, size-wise, it definitely sort of towers over the
It's Goliath compared to the Switch.
Yeah, I mean, that. To be honest with you, that's one thing for me that I wish. I do sort of wish there was like a a Switch XL sort of thing, because the one.
Really?
Yeah, because for me.
Oh, you just like it big, Luigi.
Well, no. The thing is. The Switch for me, I know a lot of people use it for portability and things like that, whereas that's not my sort of main. I'm more of the sort of person that would pick it up and sit on the sofa and play it, not go sit on the bus or on the train or something.
I won't play something that expensive on a bus.
Sorry,
anyway.
You wouldn't take it.
Play something that expensive on a bus, not in Peterborough anyway.
Well, yeah, there is that. But yeah, so, I'd take it and sit on the sofa or, have half hour, an hour, sort of sitting on the bed before bed or something.
But it'd be more of a home system then.
Yeah, so for me,
At that point, you might as well have a TV and a console.
Yeah, but it all depends.
That is kind of my perspective.
Yeah, but it all depends on sort of your level of comfort and how you want to, and not just that. Again, family life and stuff. If all the TVs are in use or this, that, the other. So for me, like I said, if I had an XL screen for the Switch, I'd definitely be.
What you're saying is, Luigi, instead of pretending to ignore the wife and kids while you're looking at your TV, you could become completely ignorant to them and play.
Exactly. Well, do you know what? The funny thing is, they're the ones that ignore me, and I end up just sitting there waiting. I end up just sitting there, sort of waiting for them to finish doing what they're doing, and and if I talk,
we believe you.
Yeah, many wouldn't, obviously, but. Well, like I said, that was just briefly wanted to touch on it. I'm just conscious of time, so I think we are going to... Sorry, yeah?
How strapped for time are we? Because I just wanted to offer one more opinion on that.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Not to sound too technical here, but whilst M.2 SSDs are brilliant in some aspects, they've proven to not be so brilliant when it comes to consoles so far.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is this what the Steam Deck uses, or
the Steam Deck? As far as I know, the Steam Deck uses a 256, and that's an M.2, and it uses a 512, which is an M.2 as well.
Yeah, their basic model, I think, is it's not an M.2, is it? Their basic model. Let me just check.
I'd have to look it up, but I thought all models use the M.2s.
No, you see, the basic model, 64 gigabyte of eMMC storage.
Oh, fair enough.
That's been around a while now, isn't it?
Yeah, so, but supposedly in the I mean, that's one thing people were worried about with the basic model, but I mean they've put that up against the higher models, and it actually holds up very well. So yeah, I mean,
for me, not everybody's caught up with that kind of tech yet, so it's like with the PlayStation 5. So the PlayStation 5's built-in SSD is an M.2, but if you want to add to your storage, you can't do what you used to do on the PlayStation 4 and just buy any external hard drive, because you'd have to move games about all the time to play them.
Yeah, same problem with the Xbox Series.
And unless you spend horrendous amounts of money on an M.2 external hard drive, you're going to have a bit of an issue. And I'm wondering if the Steam Deck's going to suffer from the same sort of problem. But
as far as I'm aware, say you did go all out and you bought the highest model with the 512 M.2 drive, you can, because they've got like an SD card slot, whatever, available, so you can add other storage, but obviously it's not going to be to the quality of what the internal storage is. But yeah, no.
A similar situation, it sounds like, to this current generation of consoles. Then you'd use it as storage, but to play the games at high performance, you need to transfer it to the internal.
Yeah.
Or buy an external that can cope with the quality.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Right. So we'll leave the talk of the Steam Deck there for now. I think we'll.
I feel like me and Tony added a lot of value to that topic.
Yeah, you did, definitely. Tony, you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm just listening and learning a lot.
Right, so now you know what time it is. It's time for...
We do.
It is time for Trash or Stash. I will go first. Actually, no. Sorry, no. Actually, we have a special
Ladies
guest with us.
first
Ladies
as well.
first. Ladies first.
Ladies, who told you that?
As you were, Luigi. Carry on.
No. I literally, as I said it, I just yeah. So
Luigi can be an honorary lady.
Exactly.
Well, he'd kind of be taking my place.
So, Toni Lisa. So, can we have your stash, please?
I think I have to give it to Dark Souls 3.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah.
It has
I
to
saw
be
that
my
coming.
stash game. It's so immersive storyline wise. You really feel like you've made something of the story when you finish it.
Right.
If you finish it.
If you finish it.
And it's so pretty.
Oh, okay.
And the difficulty almost... I say if you finish it, the difficulty compels you to finish it. Like, yeah, no, this game is not going to own me.
Yeah.
I'm so going to finish this, because by the time you get to the end of it, you're just like, I don't know how many hours I've put into this game.
Yeah.
And you want to finish it. So yeah, that's my stash.
Very nice, very nice. I mean, obviously, you touched on that at the start of this episode. Obviously all those games, but yeah, I was half expecting it to be one of the Dark Souls games. So yeah,
Well, I can't give it to Elden Ring right now because I've not played.
It's early
enough of it.
days.
Yeah.
It's only
Too early
30
for Elden
hours.
Ring.
only 30 hours.
To just this is going to make me sound a bit of a geek, but I said earlier that I like survival games. There's a game on Steam that I've played quite a lot. It's called Empyrean.
Okay.
Galactic Survival even. And I've got, hold on a sec, 1,080 hours in Empyrean.
Wow, that is commitment.
And I started playing it in 2020, so since 2020 I've got 1,080 hours in it.
That is commitment.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
I've got like 500 hours in Elite Dangerous, and
That's 135 days of 8-hour shifts.
Look at Andy doing the maths.
You've literally done about 4.5 months full-time work in the past 24 months just on that one game.
Yeah, but the question.
I've actually been at work, you know. No, I haven't.
Question: did you enjoy your time over those
I loved
1,000
it.
hours? There you go. That's what matters at the end of the day.
Loved it.
There you go. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly give my stash. I know you all absolutely
Dear God,
love my
fucking
stashes.
Brace yourself.
Bargain bin special.
This one's a beauty, guys. This one is an absolute beauty. And before I give you this, okay, let me just state that it's actually
more terms and conditions.
Yeah, let me just state it's still a game that I play to this day. I actually only played it 2 days ago. That was the last time I played it 2 days ago, and I play it probably, I'd say, at least twice a month, at least. And that is the Sega Mega Drive game EA Hockey.
Okay. Good game.
So you're not confusing that with your trash?
Oh God! No, I'm definitely not confusing.
You just get no respite, Luigi, do you? No respite.
I don't at all.
I've got your corner on this, Luigi. It's a good game. Good game.
It is a fantastic game. I mean, again,
You say so.
one of the best hockey games.
do you know? I agree because I've played a more sort of up-to-date hockey game, and I really don't like the sort of newer hockey games. Whereas EA Hockey, I can jump on that game and still to this day it holds up, and it's it's just enjoyable. It's just fun, It's for me, Again, this is all
It's before the franchise. I think we touched on it last week. It's gone so deep in the simulation.
That's right.
That
Yes,
you're losing the fun.
Yeah.
And obviously the old NHL games, they were still aiming to be the Paramount sporting game. They weren't aiming to be arcadey.
Yeah.
And I suppose at the time they weren't. But when you compare it to the games nowadays, they seem more arcadey. But it's the balance, and that's what you want. You want to pick up a game and play it, especially when it's a sports game or something that you don't want to invest hours into and things like that. You want it to be fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, it is one of those games that's pick up and play. Obviously, when you're younger, that's not too much of an issue because you have all the time in the world. But as a sort of a family man, having a quick match of hockey on my phone or something like that, it's I find it fun. I find it exciting. But anyway, we'll move on. Commando Para, can we have your stash, please?
Yeah, for me, I had to think about this, but I think for me, it's got to be Odyssey, Assassin's Creed.
Aha.
Yeah, as you know.
Did wonder where he was going to go with that, because there's a few Odyssey.
You're thinking Age Odyssey.
Yeah, Age Odyssey. Yeah, classic game. But anyway, it's for me, it's Assassin's Creed. Obviously, it's a game time and time again. I think that's where it's sort of built the foundations of where it's taken the games now. It's very enjoyable. It's one of the first games that I actually played. For me, it's a pickup game. You can go. It's user friendly, and it's even when you look at the games today, where Black Flag and even Valhalla, how it's transformed, and it's just a game that just keeps on giving. And I'm very impressed with how Black Flag was and how Valhalla is. There's so much more. So when the next one comes along, I don't know what else they can do. But for me, Odyssey, pickup game, really enjoy it. Takes it back to when I was younger, to be able to just have a mess around the free running side of things and the combat. So yeah.
Lovely. Thank you very much for your stash. Barnaby, can we have your stash, please?
Yeah, so my stash, I've gone for 2 games from Xbox Game Pass because it's one of my favourite subscriptions. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. No, it's just an easy service to like try so many games.
Yeah.
Especially with the cloud streaming service, you don't even have to wait for them to be installed. So that is really handy. When you're not entirely sure about a game, you give it a try over for streaming and see what you think before installing it. But the game that I would stash is a little indie style platformer called The King's Bird. And I'm not the biggest 2D platforming fan. I used to love that kind of genre back on Mega Drive and Super Nintendo.
Like Bubsy,
gradually, no. But
it's a line.
No, good. I liked good platforming games, but I kind of grew apart from it over time. But going back into this, it brings back those memories because it's a similar kind of like high speed free running style to it, like the Sonic games, but also has some of the flying mechanics that you'd see in Super Mario World when you got the flying cape.
Okay.
So it kind of combines those kind of like high speed antics, and the controls are just really nice. Basically, the storyline is that you're a girl in this city that's trapped in a magical cage, and then one day she travels through a portal and she gains magical powers, so she can both almost she's got that kind of like free running skill already where she can like run, jump off walls, and be very athletic, but she can also glide and fly, so it's momentum based, the control, so it takes a little while to get used to it, but when you get the hang of the momentum, you can actually make these huge leaps across these pits, or you can actually dive through these caves full of spikes, for example. And the idea is you've got to try and make your way through all of these obstacles. There's no real living enemies. You've just got to make your way through the obstacles to get to the end of each stage.
Right.
But that simple, pure gameplay just really harks back to the classic days of those 16-bit platformers, but it's just really a joy to play. It brought a smile to my face, and although it can be frustrating in places, because each stage is relatively short, but it's condensed, so you get all the gameplay in a short period of time. So I really enjoyed it so far.
How did the frustration weigh up against like the Dark Souls?
Oh, much easier. So there are multiple checkpoints. So you may end up having to do the same part or section of a stage maybe 10 times just to get the hang of it. But because the checkpoints are so close together, and spawning is virtually instant, it takes like 2 seconds to reload because it is an indie style game. The graphics are lovely. It's all 2D, but the graphics are lovely, kind of like almost Aztec inspired backgrounds, so quite distinctive. But yeah, it can be a little bit frustrating here and there, but because it's compelling, because the restarts are so quick, there's no real issue. So I kept playing for a good few hours.
It's all frustrating.
Of course not.
Oh, very nice. Thank you very much for your stash, Barney. Andy, you're left to give it.
Yeah, my stash is Ghostbusters the video game. Not to be mistaken with the crap that's been released over the past sort of decade. I'm referring to the original back in 2009. So I originally played it on the 360. It was released remastered on sort of later gen consoles. I picked up on the PS4.
Yeah.
I'm a big Ghostbusters fan anyway. Before, obviously, this is 12 years before Afterlife, the sequel came out. So being a diehard fan, you so wanted a sequel to Ghostbusters. And this game was as close as you could get to it, to the extent the storyline was set a couple of years after that of the plot of Ghostbusters 2 film. They actually got all of the original voice actors, so Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Huss, and Harold Ramis. It was actually Harold Ramis's last innings as a Ghostbuster before he passed 5 years later. And even sort of Janine, like the secondary actors and actresses, like I forget Janine, Annie Potts. So even had those. It followed the same sort of setting, so you were based in the same city, you had lots of familiar surroundings, so it really sort of absorbed you into that, again, sort of atmosphere of the film. But then what I did like as well is it didn't make you play the role of a Ghostbuster, you played a new intern, so it gave you your own identity. You weren't trying to act as someone, you were yourself. And again, I think that added to sort of the immersion to it. It was a bit of a geek's treat for me. I really loved it. There were so many little, really funny little things. There was in the station house, probably only after playing for 10, 15 minutes, you came across an employee of the month wall, and there was 12 months, and 11 out of those 12 months was Bill Murray. Employee of the month. And then there was Ernie Hudson, token black guy, got 1 month. And it was sort of like just little humour in there. I was actually quite funny. But then it had other elements as well. You could upgrade your proton pack, all different areas of it. And even if you were sort of a purist and a real trophy hunter or an achievement whore, there was options. Like there was two sort of achievements. One, you had to do minimal damage to property and structures, and the other one, you had to do as much damage as you can. So it gave you that immediate having to play a second playthrough if you were that achievement whore. So there was that repetition value to it as well. But for me, because it followed the storyline set a couple of years after, to get all the genuine voice actors on board, plus I do believe, I may be wrong, but I do believe Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis also worked on sort of the script for the game as well. It really was as close to a sequel for us Ghostbusters fans that you could get, and the fact that the actual game itself was pretty damn decent. It was really good story, nice visuals, it was polished, it played well, so you could have had all that pedigree behind it, and then they could have created shit, but luckily it worked out really good, and I think it was a really nice polished package all in all. So Ghostbusters video game 2009 is my stash.
Very nice. Thank you very much for that. Now, Toni Lisa, can you throw us your trash, please?
So, I actually have two, and I don't know which one to pick.
Give us both.
So anybody that knows me quite well knows that my other biggest passion, aside from video games, is wrestling. But one of the games I would trash was WWE 2K20.
Okay.
What a pile of rubbish. It was broken in so many ways. It should have been so much better graphically. It wasn't. And the storyline mode thing was just cringe.
Right.
And for me,
I
so
can't
the
imagine the storyline of a wrestling game.
Well, so the storyline basically depicts you as a guy on the independent scene. Now, I wrestle on the independent scene, so I know what it's like. I know how hard it can be, and I know how sort of meaningless it can feel, especially when you're trying to get your character over.
Yeah.
And they didn't capture that at all.
Right.
And I felt like I wanted them to make it a bit more realistic and not make it sort of like, oh yeah, anybody can wrestle 2 matches on the independent scene and then go to WWE, because it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You know? And it didn't capture the essence of the independent scene for me either, so...
Yeah, fair enough. Valid reason. Do you have your second one that you want to give us?
Second one was Dark Souls 2.
Oh yeah, Dark Souls 2. Is there any one particular reason, or?
My main reason for trashing Dark Souls 2 is it just felt so disconnected from the rest of the series. So, little known fact about Dark Souls 2, it was actually made by a different development team, because the development team that made 1, 3 and Demon Souls were working on Bloodborne at the time of Dark Souls 2.
Ah, okay.
So it was done by a different team, and it just didn't relate at all. It didn't feel like a Dark Souls game.
Do the Dark Souls games follow on from each other, or are they all standalone sort of titles and worlds and things?
3 follows on from 1.
Right.
Okay.
So
just to keep it simple.
So really, Dark Souls is the black sheep of the family there.
But that's what I'm saying is 2, from a fan's perspective, should have followed on from 1, and didn't.
And I see why you say, it's sort of disconnected from, the second one's disconnected.
Not only that, but it's clunky and it looks rubbish. The graphics are horrible. All the bosses are a variation of the same thing.
Right.
Pretty much, which got quite boring.
Yeah.
And it was too easy in places as well. The only good part of Dark Souls 2 was the multiplayer aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did at least tweak up the multiplayer so it was a bit more accessible into.
Fair enough. So, thank you very much for your two trashes.
Could I ask Tony a quick question?
Yeah, go for it.
So, you mentioned the wrestling. Do you think, because obviously you wrestle on the independent scene yourself, do you think it was more of a personal sort of want of yours to see more passion and thought go into that element of the wrestling game? Because obviously I imagine most people are after the flashy WrestleMania wrestlers and things like that. Are you looking for a bit more depth potentially in that wrestling game to sort of match up with your...
And speaking to other wrestlers that wrestle on the independent scene, I think if they were going to add that into the game, then fair enough. But at least make it realistic.
So you think they haven't actually justified and they haven't sort of...
It was half-hearted. They kind of
haven't really captured what
they haven't really done
like.
their research into what... Because anybody that knows anything about wrestling knows that the independent scene is way different to WWE.
Yeah.
So do you think it was more done as a tick box exercise to try and appease a certain demographic, but in reality they've actually pissed them off, and they should have either done something properly or left it alone rather than trying to do half?
I think they should have gone more research, and I think as well, because I think 2K are American anyway in developers, but I think they've tried to go too much down the American independent scene.
Yeah.
Which Americans do try and get their independent scenes to be as much like WWE as possible, but everywhere else it's not really like that. Japan, it's not like that. Here, it's not like that.
I mean, you make a good point as well, and I think to me anyway, somebody out there could look to create a game where you are wrestling on like the independent scene, whether it's UK, like you mentioned, Japan, etc. Because I think it would be different enough from a WWE title to warrant it having its own game. And
hopefully they put more dedication into
that's
the
what
actual
I mean.
development of your character from like the very basics,
yeah,
lowest end to like superstardom.
That part of it, just going on what you just said, Barnaby. So they gave you the option to sort of, they gave you a pre-created character that you could then name and dress in whatever fashion you wanted. But then, whereas in previous creation modes, they've gone, name this character whatever you like, and here's a bunch of announcer names, so that they actually call it that name.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that with the storyline character, and the ring announcers and the commentators were calling him by a specific name, and it was like, well, what was the point in giving me the option if...
It destroys the illusion and you get no sense of identity for that character you've created.
Pretty much.
It almost seems like it was possibly an afterthought and sort of, by You know.
I mean, as it's the main story mode, you would hope not. But,
Oh my word! But yeah, I think possibly something for developers to look at is a proper like indie wrestling, not quite simulator, but one with so almost like RPG elements, so you can build up your character, build up the relationships with different characters, and that would be a really interesting game. And I'm not the biggest wrestling fan, but a game like that with the RPG elements and the character interactions, whether you turn heel or whether you turn face, I think that could be really cool.
Yeah. I think the issue with that, as I think Andy was trying to touch on, is that WWE has such a massive reputation in comparison to the indie scene that the developers feel they wouldn't be able to reach as big an audience.
Yeah,
they're going to chase the mass audience, aren't they? Because it's going to return the biggest revenue. So
So I think whilst it would be good for actual wrestling fans, it wouldn't.
It might be too niche.
Anywhere near the audience. Yeah,
fair enough. Okay, well, thank you for those. I will just quickly give my trash. So my trash for the week is a game called Spec Ops: The Line.
I've heard of this one.
Yeah, it's one of those games. I sort of had a love-hate relationship with it, and I started it several times, never did finish it, and the reason for that, I come to realise, is because whenever I sort of started it and started a new game, I found I was really forcing myself to play it, and as you know,
that's never a good thing.
It's not a good thing. It was one of those things I was thinking it's going to get good soon. It's going to get good soon, and it just sort of never happened. It was one
of those annoying games where it promises a lot and never delivers.
Yeah, it was one of those that I really wanted to love, and I ended up just hating it. So yeah, that's nothing more I can say on that, really. I mean,
another controversial choice though, Luigi, because 96%, 8 out of 10, 4.4 out of 5, 97%.
Well, it's one of those. I think it depends what you're looking for out of the game, and yeah, I mean, as we know, I am controversial. The games I stash are normally very lowly rated, and
the ones you trash are high rated.
Yeah, so there you go. But no, that's my trash for the week. So Barnaby, we'll come to you. Can you throw us your trash, please?
Yeah, so it's another game from Game Pass called Art of Rally. Now, I really wanted to like this game because it's got a quirky, independent art style. It's a 3D game, very sort of basic, stripped down 3D graphics. And I did enjoy games like Sega Rally. I played those back on the Saturn, and I think on Xbox 360 they also had the Sega Rally game as well. I enjoyed that a lot. I don't play racing games very often, but do enjoy a good rally game. So I gave this one a try, and you can forgive it for its very basic graphics, because indie developers will often just use very basic graphics. That's fine. I actually quite like the art style, but the actual gameplay is very minimal, and also it uses a very distant camera angle, which I absolutely hate.
Yeah,
I like my racing games either up close behind the car or actually from the interior of the car.
Is there any option to change the view?
No, you can go a little bit closer or a little bit further away, but it's too far away.
He likes to see the person's expression when he almost crashes into them.
Exactly.
Driving through the barricade.
And also, I played a couple of tracks, tried to get into it, but it just didn't do it for me. The gameplay just wasn't there. There wasn't that excitement or feel. Yeah. I like the kind of really minimalist 3D art style. And from the intro at the start of the game, it seems the developers are passionate about rally driving, but for me as a casual rally fan, it's just not there. So go play Sega Rally instead. You'll have much more fun.
Very nice. Thank you for the trash. Andy, chuck us your trash, please.
You missed Tony out.
Tony has unfortunately left us. I don't know if that's due to technical issues, or possibly he's extremely tired because he has been up very early. But yeah, so Andy, you're up.
Right. Yeah. The game I'm trashing has actually been mentioned this evening already by someone, and I sort of got worried that someone was going to choose the same trash as me. But it is Fallout 76.
They
have to agree with that.
I love the Fallout games. Always have back in the PC day, and even more recently, I really enjoyed Fallout 4. Sort of like Tony mentioned on another game, I platinumed Fallout 4. Really enjoyed it. Fallout had sort of, they've had some slightly better ones like your Vegas. They've had some slightly not as good, but they've all been decent, solid titles. So when you hear obviously the pedigree of Bethesda or however you pronounce it, plus the IP of Fallout, and they're talking of the open world, they're talking about the cooperative and multiplayer for the first time, you think, oh, hello, this could be good. But then it's a case of, do you fix something that's not broken? And there's always that fear. And yeah, they just royally screwed it. I'll be honest, I tried it when it came out. I haven't been back to it since. I'm sure they've done updates. I'm sure they've added new game modes. I don't know. I'm not interested. But I played it, and it was glitchy. It was buggy. There was literally, I couldn't really see much of a storyline. There was no NPCs. It lost the whole feeling and soul of what made a Fallout game. It lost its identity. And I just hated it. It really did just seem like it lost its identity. It lost its way.
One of the key things with the Fallout series. They've always had a very strong background to them, a very strong atmosphere. It's not just a it's not just post-apocalyptic. It does have there's a meaning and a story behind those elements.
And the NPC characters and that are such keys, and they've been single-player journeys, and they've just they scrapped every element of that. And it's like, in a way, I was thinking, are they just trying to cash in on current trend? Because so many games are going online, they're going massively multiplayer, they're going online co-op, and it's like, are they just trying to chase the money? And if they are, then it's the worst marketing decision ever, because Fallout didn't need to do that because they had such a strong following, much like the Souls games and things. When you've built up that brand identity and that reputation, unless you're hearing your fans crying out that there's a problem, why the hell would you change your formula? And they could have done good things. Did they need to? No, but they could have done. But man, did they ruin whatever the hell they were trying to attempt to do.
I think for me,
stashed.
I think for me the biggest thing was, as you said, the games are very story-led, and I've always, with the Fallout games, enjoyed experiencing that story as a single-player journey. Yeah. And you just couldn't do that with 76. And it just ruined it.
Yeah, I was hoping to do that, but share the story with others. I was hoping it would be that community-based story.
Yeah.
But there was no story. It was, and like I say, there's no NPCs. There's nothing.
I think
you were so reliant on one another.
I think, like you mentioned, Andy, sort of changing the formula, it being single player, etc. I think, and sort of cash cow sort of thing. It seems like they went from, that single player story game that, everybody knew and loved, and they tried to almost turn Fallout into like a live service game. Because obviously with it going online and everything, and I think that's, it obviously was the totally wrong decision to make, because everybody loves that game for, the story, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fallout New Vegas, from what I understand, the story on that, and the fact that it's set in the west of America, isn't it? People seem to really take to that, and they loved that particular story.
Vegas arguably is the most popular of the Fallout series.
Yeah, that's what I sort of see. Like I said, I just feel like with 76 they tried to follow the trend of like a live service game, but it obviously...
It could have worked, because obviously you are in the post-apocalyptic world, And if you had a drop in, drop out, imagine being a post-apocalyptic world and you do come across someone else. It would happen in real life.
Yeah.
But you still need that story and the NPCs and some sort of direction.
Yeah.
I think Sorry, go on, Andy.
And I was going to say, it could work. Even with a drop-in, drop-out scenario, you do that journey yourself, but you're sharing moments. Maybe you team up for certain missions. Maybe you develop some enemies. Maybe you do have issues with people's bases, but then you could trade commodities and things. It's just how they approached it. They just butchered it.
I think they had the wrong focus, really, because I think they also had a problem with microtransactions. There's a lot of criticism for the microtransactions in game as well, and I've not played it myself, but yeah, that just seems to compound the problems.
You're not missing anything.
Indicates that the focus was in the wrong place, I think.
I think if you're new to the Fallout series, you've never played a Fallout game in your life, and you like massively multiplayer online games, then Fallout 76 might be your bag. But if they were trying to appeal to the existing Fallout fan base, they messed up.
Yeah, I think maybe that was it. They were trying to appeal to the MMO crowd when it was actually the existing Fallout fans.
Again, chasing the green, weren't they? Rather than...
Yep.
I mean, to me, I feel like obviously, again, if they do it right, there's no reason in my eyes why Fallout can't exist as a live service game, but with the exception that, for example, they have sort of a full release of like a single player, or even if they add in co-op, for example, where it's very story focused, but then they could also, that could live beside sort of a Fallout live service game. I suppose a little.
It could work.
Do you see what I'm saying?
The trouble is they've kind of spoilt the image now. So
yeah,
when people think of multiplayer Fallout, they're going to think of 76.
Yeah,
so they're going to have to do a lot of hard work.
I don't think they've ruined the single player. I think there's still going to be that brand loyalty there. But
But
if they ever attempt an online thing again, it's like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, I think people.
You were actually to give it an honest rating, though, Andy, out of like 4 or 5 stars, for example. How many would you give it?
When I first played it, because you mentioned if you were new to the sort of the game or the series, I remember there being like characters were overlapping when I was playing, like they were ghosting each other. So there were so many bugs and glitches even to just the gameplay. So I think in the early days, even if you were new to it, you'd be like, well, this is a pretty shoddy release. I like to think they've ironed those out now. So my review back in the day would have probably been 4.5. Yeah, 4.5 out of 10.
No.
I haven't played it recently, so I don't like to, for all I know. A bit like the game No Man's Sky. I never played it originally, but Luigi's told me that it got slated, whereas I have played it recently, and actually I think it's a really decent game.
That is a big pattern nowadays, though, isn't it? Yeah. Release first and then patch later.
Yeah. So I can't comment nowadays. I do know it was, it's quite a common consensus when it was released that it was a bit shit. It also remained that way for a large amount of time. So I don't know whether they actually missed the boat and a lot of the players they would have had on board jumped ship and started another franchise or something. I don't even know if servers are still going for it and things, but yeah, back in the day, 4.5 out of 10, something like that.
To agree with you, Barnaby, as well, actually, because I mean, From Software fangirl over here, but sort of with Elden Ring, it's very much to the PC market, at least. It's very much release first, patch later.
Yeah.
They seem to have put all the effort into the console release and sort of left out a bit of that effort when it comes to the PC release, as it would appear so far, but.
It's a dangerous game, though. It's dangerous because look what happened to Cyberpunk. Look what happened to Fallout 76. And even if you get the console gamers raving about a game, like we'll ignore the people who don't like the steep learning curve or the difficulty. if it's just based on the game's performance and is it delivering on expectations. You get everyone rating it 5 out of 5 who's got it on a console, but then if the PC gamer is saying, well, hang about, I feel shortchanged here, and they start reviewing the game 2 out of 5, your average reviews are getting a hit, and you're going to lose more potential buyers. So it is a very dangerous game, releasing something that's not polished. And also a bit sort of, you feel like, are they really looking out for the end consumer and the gamer, or are they just? I think
it's probably the pressure to release multi-platform from day one, where they probably should have held back the PC release maybe 3 months.
You'd have thought they'd have gone cross-platform if they were going to do that, and they haven't. So, if they haven't gone cross-platform, my question is, where is the emphasis on releasing multi-platform if you're not even going to make it so that players can play together, no matter what platform they're on?
Yeah, very good point. I think with this sort of trash and stash, we've all had very different games, as always.
That's good.
So if anybody listening would like to tell any of us that we're wrong on our trashes or stashes, you can do so by emailing us at luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com. That's luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com. As I said, pop on by, tell us we're wrong or we're right. Just come say hello and introduce yourselves to us. That has been episode 43, guys. We are going to wrap it up here. Toni, Lisa, thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. It's been great having you. Yeah, it's been great having you on. Like I said, in the future, should you wish to join us to discuss any sort of new releases of the type of games,
particularly from From Software.
Well, yeah, but I mean, because the thing is, none of us guys here, technically, we don't really play those type of games. So it'd be very cool if you're interested to join us another time to discuss some more, future titles. So
you never know. I might actually be able to convince more people to sort of try them, but
exactly,
because I think people are put off by the difficulty level. But,
I'll be honest. I was going to pick up Elden Ring. The difficulty doesn't scare me. Could I get infuriated like Barney does? Yes, but I haven't played any of the games, so I'm willing to give it a go. The reason I don't is because of the time commitment. I can't get over the hurdle of I just don't have the hours to invest in a game. I know a game of that size, I'm never going to be able to put enough into it to give it a chance, and any opinion I have is going to be unjust. And
I mean,
also,
that goes back to me saying that not even a week into release, I've invested sort of 30 hours into the game.
Yeah. So it just shows how much of a time sucker those style of games can be, I suppose. But yeah, no. Again, as I've already said, thank you very much for joining us, and I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed picking your brains and finding out that I can actually use Unity for free, which I didn't realise. So, as I said, wrapping it up.
Drop me an email if you want more info on that, by the way.
Brilliant. Shall do. Thank you very much.
She charges for her advice, but it's reasonable, right?
Oh, damn it.
Technical consultant.
Yeah. So, guys, episode 43, all over and done with. We will see you in episode 44. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Don't forget to shoot us an email over at luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com. Take care. Peace. See you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.